Parliament's now risen for the winter break. The final week, though, has been another tough one for the coalition. More about bad polls, questions about the leadership. Angus Taylor, is he going to be glad to get out of there?
Absolutely, Emma. Look, Parliament has not been a forum that's really worked all that well for Angus Taylor. I think certainly in this budget session of the last 7 weeks or so, Anthony Albanese is dominant in that forum. Yes, the opposition had some opportunities after the budget and started to capitalise on some of them, but couldn't really gain the traction that they needed. They finished this budget session with a whole bunch of polls this week showing that Labor has in fact clawed back a bit of ground. One Nation's come off a bit, but it hasn't gone to the Liberals. They're now hovering around record lows. So that's raised all sorts of questions about Angus Taylor and is he working out as leader? Would anyone else do better? Look, frankly, in the Liberal Party, there's not much appetite for another change of leadership. Certainly not this year, at least. That would look utterly chaotic. But they're all looking at him saying, what are you going to do to turn things around? He will spend the next 5 weeks or so of this winter break outside of the Parliament, where he does feel more comfortable travelling the country, talking to real people, trying to get across the message that he's got in his own budget reply policies on tax, on migration, on energy and so on. So we'll see whether that does the job of starting to turn things around. There's also a view amongst some Liberals that they can't get any worse than where they are right now. So we will see. But yes, he absolutely will be glad to see the back of Parliament.
What about the government, David? Because they've copped a backlash as well after the budget. How is Labor travelling at the end of this session, would you say?
Yeah, look, the Prime Minister's confidence is high because they passed the tax measures at least, negative gearing, capital gains tax. The polls recovered a little bit. Now, it's only a point in time. That might be a brief reprieve for the government. Things might go south again, but they're feeling like what they've done here will win them some points. Yes, there's a bit of a dip in the housing market. They're not troubled by that at the moment because it's helping first home buyers get into the market. But if those house prices continue to fall, and perhaps more dramatically, well, clearly the government will start to get nervous. Household confidence will be rattled. So it doesn't want to get, want to see prices fall too far. But right now, yes, there is some confidence that it's getting some points for doing something difficult in this budget. It didn't get all that it wanted through in this session of Parliament. There are things like the NDIS changes, social media, gambling ads and so on, that will come back in the next session, the spring session of Parliament. And look, over the next 5 weeks, there'll be less focus for Labor on its parliamentary opponents and more internal focus. There's a New South Wales Labor conference this weekend, and then in a few weeks, Labor's national conference, and that's all about the rank and file, putting some pressure on their federal elected representatives to be more ambitious, more progressive, to not take the foot off the accelerator when it comes to reform. And it must be said, both the Prime Minister and the Treasurer agree. They don't want to sit back and retreat from difficult reform for the rest of this term. They see it making change to the status quo as the antidote to what we're seeing with this rise of populism and the support of One Nation right now.
David, I just want to get some more from you on those gambling ads, the reforms that the government put through or wants to put through. Do you think they'll have to strengthen the changes to get them through Parliament now?
I think almost certainly, because there's criticism from all sides, certainly the Greens that want them to go a lot further, but quite a few in the Liberal Party as well. And they've joined forces to have an 8-week Senate inquiry into this. Look, most of the contention, there's a lot in this bill that the government's put forward. Most contention is around the allowance of 3 gambling ads an hour up until 8:30 p.m. and then a free-for-all after that. And the point being made from the many critics of this is that, well, kids don't usually switch off the telly mid-sporting match and go to bed just because it's 8:30. They're still going to be exposed to quite a few gambling ads. So there might have to be some change from the government on that front. Labor's been concerned, well, certainly the Prime Minister's been concerned about TV networks and sporting codes really relying heavily on this revenue from the gambling ads. But I tell you what, you look at that NRL deal this week, that was the broadcast deal of more than $5 billion over 7 years, and you think, well, those networks aren't particularly short of cash when it comes to acquiring such a big sporting rights deal. So crying poor on the gambling ads revenue front might be a little difficult right now.